Ernst Jünger, famous German fighter in World War I and writer, joined the French Foreign Legion in 1913. Born to a well-to-do family of Heidelberg, the eldest of 7 children, he dreamed of seeing Africa. He showed up at the Legion's office in Verdun, where the recruitment officer welcomed him. "Young man, I hear that you want to go to Africa. Have you thought it over carefully? There is fighting every day down there." This was naturally music to my ears, and I hastened to answer that I was looking for a life of adventure. "Not bad. You will do well. I shall now give you an enlistment paper to sign." And taking a printed form from a pile of papers, he added, "You can choose a new name if you like. If you don't like your old one anymore, we don't ask for documents." Although the Legion allowed recruits to enlist under a borrowed name, it did demand that they disclose their true identity. Thus Jünger enlisted as Herbert Berger, service number 15308. He took a train to Marseille and soon found himself performing drills under the hot Algerian sun, in Sidi Bel Abbès, where the main base of the Legion stood. Some 20 years earlier, the Briton George Mannington had faced a more dubious welcome when he showed up at the Legion's recruiting office, armed with equal determination to live adventures on other shores. "No, no, a good dinner at the Moulin Rouge, and tomorrow you will be cured, sacré bleu," said the recruiter as he swatted Mannington away. This attraction that pulled young men toward the Foreign Legion in the last decades of the 1800s and until after World War I, with enough resolution to brave one of those surly recruiters of the French army bureaus and constitute a force of approximately 11,500 men by 1900, is a complex phenomenon to approach. It must first be understood in the context of France's intricate political history and equally turbulent foreign relations and colonial policy and adventures. Out of political mayhem was the Foreign Legion created in 1831. For clarity's sake and ease, I refer to the Legion as the Foreign Legion, Légion étrangère, throughout this book, although it existed under the name Régiment étranger, foreign regiments, between 1856 and 1875. The French Bourbon kings, restored after the abdication and exile of Napoleon in 1814, hardly reinstated the people's faith in the old monarchy. Louis XVIII died in 1824, and King Charles X succeeded him on the throne to face an economic and political crisis, which, after a series of authoritarian measures aimed at propping up his regime, led to a revolution in July 1830. Paris rioted, and barricades blocked the streets of the capital. Charles X's flight from France allowed the Orléans branch of the dynasty to inaugurate a constitutional, more liberal monarchy, and King Louis-Philippe, who would reign until 1848 in this July monarchy, incarnated for a while France's deep desire for calm. Louis-Philippe, in the first months of his reign, faced an unsettled France. European refugees, Italians, Poles, Germans, Spanish, had converged on France in a year when many other capitals were being shaken by political unrest. Other foreigners roamed aimless. The Swiss soldiers of the old monarch's traditional guards, who had been disbanded after they defended the king during the July Revolution, leftover fighters from regiments that Napoleon had raised abroad, France has had a long history of using foreign-born soldiers for hire. Then there were immigrants with no work. What to do with a substantial population that could fuel yet more trouble out of misery and boredom? On March 9, 1831, the French Legislative Assembly voted a law allowing the creation of new army regiments, where foreign-born men between the ages of 18 and 40 could enlist. The French Foreign Legion was born. Authorities had conceived of the Legion as a temporary solution to a threat to public order, but there was another reason to create the corps. Algeria, where France had launched an uncertain colonial endeavor just a year before, needed an army corps that could face danger and human losses without drawing the political backlash that French-born victims would elicit. Hence, the Legion's destiny was tied with France's most important colonial venture. Charles X, the monarch chased away in 1830, had thought that he would boost his political fortunes with a resounding foreign coup. On July 5, 1830, after landing in Algeria with a force of 27,000 men, the French took Algiers. They seized the major ports of the coast, causing destruction and death. The justification